Good morning, everyone. This is Leslie Jouflas with Trading Live Online and back for another segment with your Daily 5. And we're going to get right to the charts here. I'm going to show you some current setups. And actually, these have been a little bit ongoing since I was last on July 8th. And I've been following this particular pattern that's showing up in the NASDAQ and now showing up in other indexes as well. So let me walk you through it real quick if you're not familiar with it. This is a B, a C, a D, and this is a sell pattern. Now, NASDAQ, as we know, has been up to new highs here. And on July 8th, when I first presented this pattern, there were a couple things in the indicators that were not quite set up yet, although it did get a little bit of movement with it, and we'll walk through those indicators. But before we do that, I just want to explain one other thing with this pattern. Quickly, the A and B leg and the C and D leg are usually roughly around equal length. However, the CD leg can extend a little bit further and go to either 1.27 or around a 1.618. Those are the most common ratios that they will extend to. So you can see on here where I've marked those in, that has been sort of hovering. It popped up to about the 1.618, but it's been sort of hovering around these price levels. And we've had a drop now back down into this channel, which has been developing for quite some time. And it's found support at around the center line of the channel. And I just updated this chart this morning, and you can see that the price is now testing the upper portion here. So let's walk through a couple of the indicators and see if these might help us at this time. So what I have marked in with these red arrows down here, this is the RSI, and the red arrows is showing where the RSI was at the highs back in February 2020 of this year before the large decline. And it's tested the RSI with some of the rallies in the NASDAQ has come up and tested where that high was. Now, this is important to watch because this can be part of the range that this RSI is forming with the price. We've started to see some downward slope now, which wasn't quite present at July 8th when I presented this pattern, but now we're getting a downward slope with this, and we're coming back down close to where a support is on the RSI. Well, we've got this lower trend line right here. I've got a green horizontal line marked, and this is going to be important support for this market to hold if we're only going to see a little bit more of a correction. If we break down through this trend line here and the green horizontal support, then we'll probably see a test of the 2020 highs and possibly a deeper retracement. We can see also on here that the MACD has been sloping downward as well and is currently in a negative territory. And the on-balance volume, again, when I presented this in early July, the on-balance volume was not really, it was still showing the strength to it, but now we can see that it has a definite turn to the downside. So we really want to be keeping an eye on these most current support areas and see if these hold or if we break and we're going down for more of a correction. But I do think whatever correction that we see at this time may be setting up some very good buy opportunities coming up in the near future. Okay, let's move on to the next chart. And this is Microsoft. And Microsoft has a similar pattern to the NASDAQ, but it has a little bit more interesting, a little bit more of a defined of an A, B, C, D buy pattern. But the important areas to watch right now in Microsoft, and same with NASDAQ, is we now have an upper resistance area where the red line is marked and where this green line is marked, that's where that A, B, C, D buy pattern came in and completed. So this has to hold as support now for this market. So if it comes up and gets a little bit more of an up move and down through here, and NASDAQ comes down through those trend lines, then I'm really expecting more of a correction in the market. And we can see here on Microsoft, if we look at these indicators as well, they're similar to the NASDAQ, but the on-balance volume, you can see, also is now sloping to the downside. So I would be keeping a close eye on these indicators with any rally up, and then especially if we see a break of these support lines to the downside. Now I'm going to look at a couple charts in the S&P 500. This is the futures. This is a futures chart, but also back in July 8th on my segment on Daily 5 is there were butterfly patterns. These are patterns that have ABCDs that extend above a particular swing. And now I'm starting to see more of these patterns start to form on the intraday charts. As an example, this one that I'm showing here, this one just completed just a couple days ago in last week's trading and got just under 100-point correction to the downside. And now it appears that we may be forming a range here. This 3190 in the S&P 500, the futures, looks to me to be like the most current support area that the market needs to hold. We may get some more testing up and down within this range. I've got the price ranges marked in here with this, but I do know from experience when I start seeing multiple patterns of the same pattern that are forming on different time frames, that certainly is something to pay attention to. So now I'm going to go to the S&P 500 on a daily chart, and this is another chart they've been following. Is parallel trend channels, as you can see. And this is the butterfly pattern on the daily chart, so a little bit larger chart. Here's one trend line here that price is already through, and this morning has been sort of testing around there. I've got this pink line here. If the price does come up a little bit higher, we have a big gap to contend with here that I'm expecting to be a lot of resistance for the market. And I've got the price levels marked in here so that you can see that. And this extension, the X to A, and then extending above, excuse me, above the X point with a 1.27 Fibonacci ratio extension is coming right into where the start of this gap is. And up here, I've got a range of where the low bar is and the closing price up here to close this gap. And so again, it's interesting to me that I'm starting to see quite a few of these patterns on different time frames. And if you'd like to learn more about them, this book, Trade What You See, How to Profit from Pattern Recognition, I wrote this with Larry Pesavento, is a very good book. We are very descriptive in these patterns and showing you how to construct them and how to find them in the markets. So again, let's take a look here now at our RSI, and RSI looks like it's in a bit of a ranging mode here, but that can be very helpful if the market starts to either move to the upside. Is the RSI moving strongly with the price, or is it diverging? Or if we start moving to the downside, is the RSI also turning down with that? So let's take a quick look now. Those are the levels that I'm watching, and we've already got completed patterns. And the Dow Jones Industrial also has an A, B, C, D sell pattern that completed into this gap area. So here's a support area for the Dow Jones Industrial from the previous range. If it does come above this area up here where this gap is and right here, then again, we have this big gap from February to contend with. So that's it for what I'm looking at currently and the patterns that I'm looking at. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon on another Daily 5.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with Stock Charts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're going to bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.